Hindsight Prophecy, the Genome, Shavuot 2021. Breaking news. If you think that the sting of an injection can take Yahshua HaMashiach out of your DNA, you are not having Elohim in you. Explaining epigenetics and the RNA code. Epigenetics, from the Greek epi in or on genetics, is the study of the mechanisms that regulate the expression of genes without a modification in the DNA sequence. It establishes the relationship between genetic and environmental influence that determine a phenotype. It refers to the study of factors that, without corresponding to elements of classical genetics, play a very important role in the modern genetics by interacting with them. Genetic factors that are determined by the cellular environment rather than by heredity are involved in determining ontogeny, the developmental stage of an organism from fertilization of a zygote in sexual reproduction through adult from two stems, and are so involved in the heritable regulation of gene expression without a change in nucleotide sequence. Epigenetics can be said to be the set of chemical reactions and other processes that modify the activity of DNA without altering its sequence. To consider epigenetics marks as non-genetic factors would take us away from the true vision of the scientific discipline. Epigenetic marks are not genes, but modern genetics teaches us that not only genes influence the genetics of organisms. The term was coined by Conrad Hal Waddington in 1942 to refer to the study of gene-environment interactions occurring in organisms. 23 Following the completion of the Human Genome Project in 2003, four scientists have realized that there is much more to the cellular basics of cellular functioning, development, aging, and many diseases. The idea held just a few years ago that humans and other organisms are fundamentally only what is written if our genes from conception is changing by leaps and bounds. And science is moving forward to decipher the language that encodes small chemical modification capable of regulating the expression of a multitude of genes. Epigenetics reinterprets now concepts and reveals new mechanisms by which the information contained in DNA of each individual is translated, concept by concept. A new language of a genome is being deciphered and introducing the notion that our own experience can mark our genetic material in an hitherto unknown way, and that these marks can be passed on to future generations. To date, epigenetic mechanisms have been discerned in a wide variety of psychological and pathological processes, including, for example, various types of cancer, cardiovascular, neurological, reproductive, and immune pathologies. What is written by you with every step you take and every decision you make. And the ARN is you are as a messenger or conscience helping you, an itinerant Torah specific to you. One from on regulation is by ARN interference, which do not code for a specific protein, but their sequences are complementary to DNA, or coding RNA and prevent translation. This is a form of negative regulation of expression at the most transcriptional level. One of these types of RNA are microRNA interference RNA, which bit to complementary. Complementary sequence and degrade the transcript. Thus prevented translation into proteins. The importance of this type of gene regulation has been seen in several scenarios, such as regulation in tumor production, effects of aging due to change in methylation associated with methylation stress in neural genes, involved in fetal development imperfection, among others. All these epigenetic mechanisms play a fundamental role in the correct development and functioning of the organisms, as is the case of embryonic development, behavior, or cell differentiation with uncontrolled can lead to cancer. Epigenetics is a charge of enabling a good organization of chromatin in the cell nucleus, regulating and gene expression in the different tissues and cell types, and maintaining the correct pattern of expression at the right time and place. The brilliant man in the page 1 in the chapter 1 in Luca in Luke 1:15, the word is enopion, genome, enopion. He will be brilliant, beget in Hebrews 11:12. In Hebrews 11:12, say, and so a whole nation came from this one man who was as good as did, a nation with so many people that, like the stars in the sky and the sand of the seashore, there is no way to count them. Abraham translates, they come forth as stars. Genome came forth, appears in Acts 23:7. Acts 23:7. This divided the council, the Pharisees against the Sadducees. Cell division for life. Matthew 10:34-36. Matthew 10 34. Don't imagine that I came to bring peace to the earth. I came not to bring peace, but a sword. I have to set a man against his father, and daughter against her mother, and a daughter is law against her mother is law. Your enemies will be right is your own household. Genome also appears in 2 Thessalonians 2:7, meaning until he or it comes to be. For this lawlessness is already at work secretly, and it will remain secret until the one who is holding it back steps out of the way. Meaning until he or it comes to be. Until he or it comes to be, we have that which a written wins. Greek pergamino is Latin membrana, and vitella from vital, potentially can give life. Latin membrana, adjective for membrum, member, denoting skin. 1 Corinthians 12:27. The human body has many parts, but the many parts make up one whole body. So it is with the body of Christ, Joshua. Some of us are Jews, some are Gentiles, some are slaves, and some are free. But we have all been baptized into one body by one Spirit, and we all share the same Spirit. Yes, the body has many different parts, not just one part. If the foot says, I am not a part of the body because I am not a hand, that does not make it any less a part of the body. And if the ear says, I am not part of the body because I am not an age, will that make it any less a part of the body? If the whole body were an age, how would you hear? Of if your whole body were an ear, how would you smell anything? But our bodies have many parts, and God has put each part just where He wants it. How strange a body would be if it had only one part. Yes, there are many parts, but only one body. The age can never say to the hand, I don't need you. The head can say to the feet, I don't need you. In fact, some parts of the body that seem weakest and less important are actually the most necessary. And Romans 12:5. Romans 12:5. Just as our bodies have many parts and each part has a special function, so it is with Yahshua's body. There are many parts of one body, and we all belong to each other. In His grace, God has given us different gifts for doing certain things well. So if God has given you the ability to prophesy, speak, or with as much faith as God has given you. Semeion sin, indication, pledge, that which distinguishes a person of thing from others. But there are other semeion, or things performed by demons. Genetic modification by injection is believed by idolaters, but not even the adversary powers believe it. What they did believe more than 100 years ago was that they could modify the earth and DNA with electrical discharges. Tesla, the last giant they have left without being anachronistic, although Prometheus signed the same speech at Tesla about the theft of fire from the goods. Many years ago, millennials. Tesla, as I say, assured that electricity increased the production of the earth, and they proved it. They scorched the earth and made ground. In Romans 8, 19, 21, 22. Romans 8. Say, for all creation is waiting eagerly for that future day when God will reveal which his children real are. Against it will and creation was subjected to God's curse, but with eager hope. For me now that all creation has been groaning as in the pains of childbirth right up to the present time. The electric companies like Endesa friction with this humble man, which do not exist. They told me from a basketball program sponsored by Endesa, and in the 20th century that they could tolerate and channel any clash, increasingly intolerant best. Serpent, evil, old age. And atheist literature was the river that cast the dragon after mankind. In Revelation 12:4, say, his tail swept away 1/3 of the stars in the sky, and he threw them to the earth. He stood in front of the woman as she was about to give birth, ready to devour her baby as soon as it was born. Men and women were resisted the devil by suffering electric shocks in psychiatric hospitals. In centuries ago, Tesla called that strange electrical fire human energy, when it was demonic energy. Now they can't even call it human anymore because it is a very burdensome job for the fallen messengers. 2 Thessalonians 2:9 say, this man will come to do the work of Satan with counterfeit power and signs and miracles. Energeos Satan. Tesla said with the cunning of the serpent that it was necessary to flee from friction in order to be able to hold on to the fastest mass, to the greatest virtue that lay in the darkness. Everything had to work for the beast, and they assumed that by electrifying the atmosphere and controlling the thoughts and acts of men through the means of communication, increasing what he called human energy, the cosmic and linguistic Bible would make it impossible to hear the voice of Elohim. Science is a lay from the Egyptian atom god Atum to the planets passing through the satellites. Among Tesla lies was also that they had a camera to take pictures of the retina to see the thoughts. All the human knowledge at the service of the lie to never wake up. The case of the woman of America Zucker, Energeo Satan, by the work of Satan. They are not rewarded for composing poetry, not even for being good athletes. They are rewarded for selling their bodies for a sick business in the age of feminism. 2 Thessalonians 2:9. This man will come to the work of Satan, to do the work of Satan with counterfeit power and signs and miracles. Tesla announces a still unresolved origin of man according to him. In the moon sense, he also puts that the sun in the past, the earth is the present, and the moon is the future. Very cold, but then is a corner there will always be a lunatic lighting affair. And one tends to think that if then nevertheless speaks of virtue and the prejudice of vice, and the benefits of drinking water on a platform incomprehensible to the lower classes. One tends to think, as I say, that Tesla is just a fool who lacks biblical training. That was the worst misperception. This intellectual elite was deeply demonized and ritually covenanted with the devil. They promoted morality as long as it was maintained in a collective unconscious. That was a weapon against any true mental renovation. If anyone woke up, they were surprised by a collective unconscious or hypnotized multitude that within a morality never asked why they behaved as they did and why society was the way it was. They knew what they wanted to play at. They wanted to cling parasitize to the mass of more speed or the maximum goodness and purity achieved under the trap and the plot of tongues never places in biblical prophecy and besieged by perverse programming. For example, very much. And that is because those diabolical powers were fulfilling biblical prophecy without Those of us who claim to love the word realizing it and behind the back of the simple. Second of Thessalonians 2:4 say, don't be fooled by what they say, for that day will not come until there is a great rebellion against good, and the man of lawlessness is revealed, the one who brings destruction. He will exalt himself and defy everything that people call God and every object of worship. He will even sit in the temple of God, claiming that he himself is God. So, by becoming good-like is this century, especially the 20 and 21, they were going to put an end to vice, bad food and war. But we find the opposite: obesity, delinquency, and drugs, material and spiritually, poverty, crimes everywhere, and what's make them look like a bunch of treacherous liars. When they talk, they could make use of everything and take advantage of any human knowledge. They cannot assimilate a stream of YouTube, and they are the same point of friction as always, of rupture, of discord, versus what is supposed or they supposed to be the most insect and insignificant, the most vile and despised. Now all that negative energy parasitic of the positive energy has to burn like pitch because of the enormous combustion of sin. Hebrews 9:28 say, say, so also Joshua was offered once for all time as a sacrifice to take away the sins of many people. He will come again not to deal with our sins, but you bring salvation to all who and are eagerly waiting for him. And in conclusion, 2 Corinthians 3:2-4. Say, the only letter of recommendation what's need is yourselves. Your lives are a letter graded in your A-D-N. The only letter of the recommendation we need is yourselves. Your lives are a letter written in our hearts. Everyone can read it and recognize our good work among you. Clearly, you are a letter from Joshua showing the result of our ministry among you. This letter is written not with pen and ink, but with the Spirit of the living God. It is carved not on tables of stone, but on human earths. And remember, it's gonna will be all right. Shalom.